Hey y'all, hey, we are back. And this week we are talking about some heavy hitters: shame, guilt, and the inner critic. If you are new here, my name is Galanda B. I'm an emotional awareness coach dedicated to helping you understand and connect with your emotions through mindfulness, enabling you to experience greater joy and peace in your life. Okay, you heard it. Shame, guilt, inner critic. Big three in really being responsible for some deep blocks in your mental and emotional healing. This week has a lot of heavy information, so view this with care, okay? Make sure you are in a mental space to kind of hear these things and process this stuff this week, okay? So, many people carry a really harsh inner dialogue, right? In our ear of what we should be doing, right? I've noted a couple of these things this inner critic often says. I should have known better. Okay? I should be further along by now. Everyone has it together except for me. I'll never be enough no matter what I do. Just because your inner critic says it doesn't mean it's true. This inner critic is rooted in either shame or guilt. And you might say, well, what's the difference between shame and guilt? Shame is when you place the onus on yourself. I am bad, right? The person is no good. That's shame, right? Guilt, on the other hand, is I did something bad, or guilt could be I didn't do something that I should have done. So shame is more internal in terms of how you think about yourself, and guilt is about what you think you should have done externally, right? Or that you did do externally. So shame and guilt often, because I am not a therapist, often though comes from childhood trauma, right? Not because you're a weak person, but these mechanisms arise because you're trying to keep yourself safe. So one of the things that we can do in attempting to mitigate either the shame or the guilt is to name it, right? On another video, I mentioned about naming, and it applies here as well. Naming something gives it a definition that you can then work with, right? So I have noted 5 inner critics, right? There's a lot of them. And if you're interested in knowing more, let me know down in the comments. But here are 5 of the most popular inner critics. Number 1, the perfectionist. I should have done it better, right? Who hasn't had the perfectionist in their ear before? I know I have, right? The taskmaster. Keep going. You haven't done enough. And I like to list the taskmaster as part of the inner critic because those of us who may have grown up in a very capitalistic society, this is a heavy inner critic, right? One that's you got to do more, you got to do more, you got to do more, right? Number 3, the imposter. You are a fraud. Who do you think you are? Again, imposter syndrome is something that many, including myself, feel like we are not confident in the skills and the practice that we have in a particular space and therefore think that we don't belong there. And that is the imposter. All right. Number 4, the withholder. Now, in my experience, the withholder is heavy with women. Okay? The withholder says, you don't deserve love, rest, joy, peace, grace, fill in the blank, right? It's you don't deserve. So you're withholding from oneself. And then number 5 is the ghost of someone else, right? And that inner critic says, you'll never measure up to this other person, right? It goes with one of my favorite phrases: comparison is the thief of joy. And comparison, in terms of your inner critic, is the ghost of someone else. Now, you cannot shame yourself. You can't shame yourself into growth. That's not how it works. Compassion is the prescription for shame, okay? Compassion isn't an excuse, right? It's not an excuse. It is a healing practice for yourself, okay? And if you are having challenges having compassion for yourself, you can use this question to yourself to help you with the compassion. You say, if a friend of mine was feeling this way, what would I say? If a friend of mine had this experience, what would I offer or share to them, right? This allows you to give yourself the same kind of energy you would give someone else. This is also a mindfulness practice where you are looking without judgment, right? But towards yourself, okay? When you are offering compassion to yourself, when these things happen, there are a few phrases that you can offer to yourself. Things like, I'm allowed to be human, right? Or I'm still growing. Or I'm a whole person, multifaceted, right? You can offer these phrases as compassion to yourself. We've talked about shame. We've talked about guilt. We've talked about the inner critic. Now, how do we manage these different emotions, right? I want to offer you 3 options. The first option is a mirror practice. And this could be really uncomfortable for a lot of people. It's often uncomfortable for those who may identify as neurodivergent as well. But a mirror practice can help you be more compassionate towards yourself when feeling shame or guilt, or that inner critic is chattering away a lot, right? The mirror practice says, look into the mirror and say one kind thing about yourself, right? You're very smart. Or if you're doing it for yourself, I am very smart. I am very kind. If the I feels uncomfortable, right, then you can do you, right? You're an amazing auntie. You're a great community organizer. And that can help you cultivate compassion for yourself. Another practice you can do is forgiveness journaling. For those of you all who find that writing is very therapeutic, right? In forgiveness journaling, you simply say, I forgive myself for whatever the shame item is, whatever the guilt item is, right? I forgive myself for fill in the blank. The last practice that I'd like to share with you is a touch practice. Is whenever you are feeling feelings of shame or guilt, that you simply take your hand, put it over your heart, or maybe both hands, put it over your heart, to give yourself a reminder that you are human and that you deserve compassion, right? Of course, you can pair this touch practice with breath, right? Simply taking intentional breaths. They don't have to be in any particular pattern or any particular way other than you're paying attention to your breath. So you can simply touch your heart and just notice your breathing, the inhale and the exhale. If you feel like you need a little extra push, you can do deep breathing, right? Where you inhale and fill up your lungs as much as possible, and you slowly exhale that same air. Okay? You might also notice that I have on a crystal. Crystals can also be very supporting. This is an amethyst, which is very supportive in recovery, and so also very supportive in dealing with shame and guilt as well. Now that we reviewed these practices and things that we can do, I invite you to reflect on, what do I need to forgive myself in order to move forward? What do I need to forgive myself for in order to move forward? This might be a question that you answer over several days. Please do not be hard on yourself if you write this and you feel stuck and you don't know what to say, or you feel overwhelmed and have too much to say. Give yourself grace, okay? Give yourself grace. I also encourage you to practice acts of self-kindness daily. Touching your heart, right? Down here. Looking at yourself and complimenting yourself, whatever it may be. Something every day, okay? Now, next week, we are going to work on putting all of this together in the lovely gift of emotional resilience. Until next time, bye-bye.